brother made it across. And it was 6:43, so 2 more minutes, okay? After a whole minute of waiting, I dashed across the large road and went up 2 floors to the departure. And the moment my brother saw me, he literally screamed at the top of his lungs to get on. I went over and told the driver that my mom was right behind me, and he said he had to leave because Japanese people, if you know them, they're really prompt. So when they say they're going to leave at this time, they are going to leave at this time. But thanks to God Almighty, my mom's head popped up from the escalator, and I breathed the biggest relief I ever relieved in my life. In the end, it was a team effort. So if Jonathan had not run as fast as he did, none of us would have made it to the bus. And if I had not stayed behind to watch my mom, only my brother and I would have gone to Mount Fuji. So everything worked out just perfectly in the end. But lesson learned, in any circumstance or situation, you have to be timely and prepare for delays, even if you think there are delays up ahead, because it's better to be safe than sorry. That concludes my speech. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Objective is right there, right? Okay.
Okay. So now I would like to call on Mr. Jason Pendergast to introduce Ms. Anna.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Today I will be evaluating Toastmaster Anna John, her speech titled My Upbringing, My Family, My Passion.
Thank you, Toastmaster, and thank you, everybody. My time is 5 to 7 minutes. So let me pin the timer so I know how much time I'm using. Jonathan. Okay, I see you, Jonathan. Great. Okay. Yeah, as long as you can do that. All right. Okay, this is my icebreaker. I don't think I have ever done an icebreaker to our youth, so this is the first time. And I have a lot to say, but bear with me. My name is Anna Zhang. I'm the sponsor of the club. I was born in China and raised in China. I was born in the big city called Wuhan, in the province of Hubei, which is a big flat land along Yangtze River, gigantic river. In this map, I want you to be acquainted with the Chinese map. Here you can see the blue line, that's the gigantic Yangtze River. The square I put there, Wuhan, that's where I was born and raised. My mom was a teacher, my dad was an engineer. I have a younger brother. So being the oldest child in the family, I have learned to be independent. I learned to take care of my grades, which is really important in China. I learned to take care of myself and also my family. My family has been able to stay in the middle class, so when I grow up, I never really had a big issue. I went to the college, and then after graduation, I found a job in Shenzhen, which Joseph mentioned earlier in his presentation, which is a big city just north of Hong Kong, down here. If I can put my mouse somewhere, oh, right here. This is a big city, Shenzhen, north of Hong Kong. So that's where I worked for 3 years. And then my husband and I decided to look for new opportunities in the United States. So I applied for a few colleges and eventually got an offer from Clemson University. So both of us moved to US. I got my master's degree in from Clemson, and then got a job offer from AutoZone, which is headquartered in downtown Memphis. So I ended up here in Memphis and never left. Now, working in the corporate office at first is not easy because, see, I have all the skills I needed to perform my job well, but the communication has always been my weakest point. Let me close this presentation because you don't need this map now. So I'm gonna stop share. Okay, talking about my corporate life. Communication has always been my weakest point. Additionally, being involved in the non-job related corporate events is crucial for the career advancement. And being able to speak in a public setting is a must. So fortunately, I found the Toastmasters, and I have been the member since 2010. But the biggest awakening for me is raising my 2 boys. Now, don't get me wrong, they're great kids. They're wonderful, but they still have their struggles. Sometimes that pressure is coming from parents, sometimes it's coming from their peers, sometimes it's even coming from themselves. But I found out if they open up more and talk about it, the issues are easier to deal with. 2 years ago, I asked them, hey, do you want to participate in Toastmasters Youth Leadership Program? To my surprise, they said yes. And they went to the meeting every week for 8 weeks straight. I can tell they really enjoy the every week's meeting, even though they feel pressured to speak every time, but they really enjoyed it. They made every meeting. My older son, Matthew, is now a freshman in college, and he's now leading a group study in the campus church. So I have to say, being able to speak publicly really built up his self-confidence from that time. In the last couple of years, I think you all have witnessed, have heard the rising crimes committed by our youth or young men across the nation and or even in the city of Memphis. I personally witnessed inappropriate behavior from our youth in the public settings such as movie theaters or shopping centers. Then came 19-year-old Ezekiel Kelly, who started a citywide shooting rampage on September the 7th, 2020. I remember that night I was worried to death, worried my 2 boys driving home from Germantown Library when the shooter are still on the road killing people. I was thinking, how could something happen to a man that made him do things like this? Since then, I made a decision to do something for our younger generation. And that's how this Gavel Club, Memphis Gavel Club, was born in 2022. We started with 7 youths, but now we have more than 20. Is this club gonna reach every youth in the city? No way. But we have you. I hope every one of you will become the catalyst in a society that carry this mission. In order for you to do that, you need to be a good communicator and a leader. And this is precisely what this club is doing for you. This club is your training ground. Now, looking back on my upbringing, the independent girl who just happy to make good grades now has grown to know that she's more than herself. And you are too. You are more than who you think you are. There's a Chinese saying, Chinese poem, a little spark can start a prairie fire. I believe every one of you have a spark. Maybe just a blinking right now, a little bit, but later, trust me, it will become an Olympic torch that carry the spirit of life to your generation and generations after you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Let's give a round of applause to the two speakers. I'd now like to introduce our Peter Shi as our table talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. And so we will just get right into our table topics. So first, the question is, what is something interesting that you love? My role as table topics master is I will be asking sometimes thought-provoking questions, sometimes just surface level questions. And I will call on one person to speak and answer that prompt. These will take normally a minute to 2 minutes, and it is basically an impromptu speech where you give your thoughts on a specific topic. And so our first question is, what is something interesting that you love? An example may be pineapple or pizza, or a specific niche that you love. And that question will go to Joshua.
Oh, so is it like one hobby or just anything I like?
Just said anything that, like, something interesting that you like.
Something interesting that I like would probably be pickles. I like a lot of people might not like pickles because of the sour taste and like the weird smell, but I would like pickles. Like the taste is interesting. I don't know how to explain it. I just always like pickles from like when I was younger, and the juice tastes good as like sports drink kind of. It's more healthy than Gatorade, I think. So and yeah, pickles. Pickles.
So thank you for that. Next, we have the question, where do you spend most of your money? I repeat, where do you spend most of your money? And that question will go to Emily.
An interesting question. I used to not spend that much money before this year, but over summer break, I got an internship job at Graceland, and I earned around like $1,500 from that. So I've been spending it slowly on many different things. I found myself spending most of my money when I go out with my friends. I go to the mall with them a lot, and we go out to eat a lot. But most of my money goes to clothes. I feel like when I go with my friends, we often would like I said, we often go to the mall. And one of my favorite things to do is to pick out outfits with my friends, especially one of my best friends named Riley. We have very similar fashion tastes. So when we go out, one of the main things that we do is go shopping. And so I feel like the thing that I do the most that I spend the most money on is clothes. Thank you.
All right. So our next question is, what is your biggest pet peeve? And that question will go to
person who don't have a speaking role. Yeah.
Oh, see, okay, okay, so what is your biggest pet peeve? And that question will go to Tim too.
The question
Um,
was, oh,
What is your biggest pet peeve, Tim?
oh, was that for me?
Yeah.
Okay. My biggest pet peeve would probably be when someone just kind of ignores what you say and then does something completely different from what you tell them. For I guess an example would be like it's like a small thing. It's like you tell your friend that, oh yeah, can you just like say for like answering questions, can you do like 1, 2, and 3, and I'll do like 4, 5, and 6, and they just completely don't care about what you say and just not do any of it. And especially for school when you have like group projects, is I guess the rewarding this problem would be if they don't participate and actively help, because I feel like that just makes you take a lot of work and also a lot of stress at the end when you realize that they haven't done any part of their project and you have to do it for them so you can both get a good grade. So, and also it's just like when people, I guess, don't listen to you, and that kind of makes you feel like you're not really important to them, I guess. So that would be my pet peeve.
So our next question will be, how would you spend an ideal day? And that question goes to Diane.
Well, what was the question?
How would you spend your ideal day?
What's the best day?
Yeah,
That's what,
best day ever.
all of your fun things you do on the weekend. That's what you're doing. What's your weekend activity? What's your weekend activity? But-
Thank you. All right, so our next question is, what is one subject that really confuses you? And that question will go to Tim B.
Um, for me, it'd probably be math.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
Team B, can you expand on that? Why is it?
All right, we can move on to the next question. All right, so our next question will be, what is one white lie you often tell? And a white lie would basically be a very obvious lie. For example, if I say I am very tall, that is very obvious that I am lying. So what is one white lie that you, well, it wouldn't have to be you often tell, but what is one white lie that you have told in the past? And that question will go to Joseph. Oh, never mind, not for Joseph. Huh? Oh, yeah, that question will go to you.
So this was like this year where I was careful at actually getting my work done. So I always told my mom that I finished my homework when all day I have been spent watching YouTube and not doing my work because I don't like doing my work. So basically, it did catch up to me at some point because my mom was like about to beat me for not doing my homework because she was really mad at me. But it didn't really matter in the end because I somehow got a vegetable honor on that year. I don't even know how because I had 3 B's and I don't think that's allowed. But I still ended up getting all A's somehow. It did improve later on through the year because my mom forced me to go to actual school now. And I was kind of upset about that, but I did get my work done, but it was really boring. And that is one of my mistakes I have said in the past.
So, all right. Our next question is, what is one weird thing that scares you? Again, that question is, what is one weird thing that scares you? And now we'll go to Jenny.
One weird thing that scares me is having my lights off before I go to bed because I always imagine like weird ghost things in the dark that come get me. I usually turn on my LED lights because I cannot go to bed in the dark. And I think it's kind of weird because I can't sleep unless it's completely dark, but I can't sleep unless I turn on my LEDs before that because I can't fall asleep right away. So I would say that's one weird thing that scares me sometimes.
So, our next question will be, if you were to eat one thing for the rest of your life, granted that it provides you with all the nutrition that you need. So you can be the hot chips that you eat, that you get, all the nutrition in your life. What is the one thing that you would eat for the rest of your life? And that question goes to Eric.
Fettuccine Alfredo.
Bro, Peter, you set this up perfectly.
So like, if I were to eat one food for the rest of like my life, like, and it comes with like all the nutrients that I need, I would probably eat like some boneless Mountain Dew. Cause like, it's just good, and I like Mountain Dew, and especially when it's boneless. So
Boneless?
if I were to, yeah, you haven't tried boneless Mountain Dew?
Could you elaborate?
So boneless Mountain Dew is basically when you make it, you pour it into like a big pot, right? And you bake it like chicken wings, but it's boneless. So you just have sections of Mountain Dew, and it's pretty good. Like you guys have to try it. Like it's actually the bomb. It's not called the bomb because it's good, but it's also called the bomb
Because it
because
blows up your
explodes the toilet. But as I was saying, if I were to eat one food for the rest of my life and it had like all the nutrients that I needed to live, I would probably choose boneless Mountain Dew.
Wow.
What I'm saying, bro, you tripping.
Okay, so thank you for that answer. So our next question would be what is your favorite work of fiction? And what I mean by that is your favorite book or your favorite movie. And that question will go to Bonnie. Benny? Benny.
Can you say the question again?
What is your favorite work of fiction? That can be a movie or a book or anything in between.
Probably it would probably be a book called Amar Chitrakatha. So it's a comic book and it's kind of a Hindu comic book, and it tells stories about like wit and wisdom and adventures. It tells a lot of that stuff, and I really like reading books, so it's kind of really nice. I'm done.
And our last question will be, who is someone who you want to thank that you have not thanked yet?
Huh?
Who is someone who you want to thank who you have not thanked yet? And that question will go to Owen.
Someone who I want to thank that I have not thanked yet is my quiz bowl coach, Mr. Collier. So when I transferred to Collierville in 10th grade, I didn't really have any friends because I didn't know anyone there. And I used to do quiz bowl in White Station, so I joined the quiz bowl club. And it was a much friendlier environment than in White Station. And I quickly found myself making a lot of new friends and improving a lot. And I really want to thank him for fostering such an environment that could allow me to improve. And I really devoted myself in that first year to improving at Quiz Bowl because it was such a friendly environment. So I fervently, attend practices every week, and I spend a lot of my time trying to learn new things for Quiz Bowl. So I really want to thank him for. I really want to thank Mr. Collier for creating such a friendly environment and encouraging me to improve at.
All right. Thank you everyone for participating, and I'm glad that I can get acquainted with all of you people a little bit more. So I will pass it back to our Toastmaster answer.
I would now like to call on Emily for her general evaluation.
I'm just going to turn it to our first evaluator, who is Xavier Taylor.
That was.
Thank you, Ms. General Evaluator. So I was evaluating Mr. Joseph's speech, a story on timelessness or timeliness. Time. Right. So first, I'd like to talk about his hand movement or his gestures. He had great gestures throughout his speech, and although some of them were cut off by his camera angle, I could still tell that he was using his hands throughout the speech. So overall, I give him a 5 out of 5 for the hand motions and gestures. On the tone, I gave him about 3 out of 5 because mainly throughout the speech, he kept a somewhat of the same tone throughout the speech. In some parts, he did go up a little bit, down a little bit, but I didn't catch any wide range of motion during his tone or in his tone during the speech. That's why I gave him a 3 out of 5 on tone. So it was pretty good. So he kept it nice and calm. Next up, we have our eye contact. Okay. Eye contact, I gave him a 4 for eye contact because majority of the time he was looking at the camera or the audience. But I did pick up on some looking elsewhere, whether it be off to the side, down a little bit, or off to the other side. But overall, he had pretty good eye memory for the majority of his speech. Next up, we have comfortability. Since this is a story that involved him, his brother, and his mom in it, he seemed very comfortable giving this speech, as it was a story about something that he went through recently. So I give him about a 5 for comfortability during his speech. For engaging audience, I gave him a 3 out of 5 for engagement, only because I feel like some of us may have had a somewhat similar experience. So during the speech, he might have asked a question, which may have got us thinking about a similar experience that we may have had. Or if he did do that, I might have missed it. I gave him a 3 out of 5 for engaging audience. For his delivery, however, I gave him 5 out of 5 for delivery. Excellent delivery or flow of his speech. He kept it going each part because he had a lot of information. He didn't want to stop for too long or stay in one part or spot. So he had great flow throughout his whole meeting. And that was great. He also utilized his pauses, though they were short, he utilized them well during his speech. So that goes with the delivery. It was well put. Each pause was at a good place. So you can tell when he's stopping one sentence and moving to the next sentence, or one part going into the next. Time, I gave him a 3 out of 5 for time, because from what I've seen, it looked like he was about a little over a minute over time, a bit. So one recommendation I would have to give him for time is probably say when he's giving a speech like that, maybe move the time limit up from 4 to 6 minutes to maybe 5 to 7 minutes, or 6 to 8 minutes, whichever more fits his speech, since he had so much information in it. 4 to 6 minutes probably wasn't the best time frame for him. And for final are his grammar usage. He had pretty good grammar usage throughout the meeting. I did hear it like or a slight here throughout his speech. But overall, I give him about a 4.5 out of 5 for the overall speech. He did a good job. Just needs to work on his tone, his engagement of the audience, and his time. Thank you very much.
Next, I'm gonna call on our second evaluator, which is Mr. Jason Pennick.
Toastmaster John gave an amazing story of who she is, her family, and what she's passionate about. This John was born in China, in Wuhan to be exact, to a middle-class family. Her mom was a teacher, her dad was an engineer, she had a younger brother she took care of. As the oldest sibling, she was naturally independent, taking responsibility for her own grades, taking care of herself, and taking care of her family. After college, she got a job in Shenzhen where she worked for 3 years before she and her husband decided to move to the U.S. for more opportunities, or new opportunities. That's where she enrolled in Clemson and earned her master's degree, and then got a job at AutoZone, the corporate headquarters in Memphis, and that's what brought her here. While at the corporate office, she was excelling in her role and her job, but she wanted a career advancement, and she knew communication was key. And she felt that was a skill gap that she needed to develop. So she signed up for a local Toastmasters, and they helped her close that gap. And then you can see from her speech, her stage presence, her tone, her knowledge, her preparation, it was perfect. Toastmasters obviously played a positive impact on her life. She felt it was so important that she invited her 2 children to join Toastmasters. To her surprise, they accepted and they were fully engaged. Her oldest son, Matthew, is leading a study group at her campus church, helping people in ways beyond education, speaking to their spirit. So it's having a real positive impact on the community. In 2020, a serial killer was driving through Memphis, destroying lives. Like any parent, she was worried about her children who were at the library along the same area of town the killer was going through. Every parent's nightmare. Luckily, her kids made it home safely, but she thought to herself, what caused this guy to snap? What made him lose hope? That's what lit a fire, a spark inside Toastmaster John. It's time to be a catalyst for change. That's when she founded or formed the Gavel Club of Memphis, hoping to give youth such as in this room hope and goals in life that are positive and have an impact on the community that will lead to greater change. Miss John's speech was very inspiring and very well prepared. And I think she's a great catalyst for this city. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Okay, next I'm gonna call on our timer, Mr. Jonathan Chen.
Okay, thank you, Emily. I'll start first with our prepared speeches. Joseph was our first speaker. I apologize for timing it for 4 to 6 minutes because I was just going off the meeting schedule, but it should have been more, just like Xavier said, 6 to 8 minutes. And your time was 8:25. Mrs. Zhang, your time was slightly over the 5 to 7 minute range, so your time was 7:07. Next was our table topics. Our first speaker, Josh, at 35 seconds, Emily at 45 seconds, Tim at 1:10. Speaker number 4, I didn't quite catch your name, sorry, but great job, 1:12. Our sixth speaker, again, sorry, I didn't catch your name, but it was the one about white lies. It was a great job, 1:16. Jenny was at 35 seconds. Eric, I think, was at 1:05. Bonnie was at 39, and Owen was just slightly under at 56. And our evaluations, great job, Xavier, you're at 4:30, which is overtime, but great evaluation. And Mr. Pendergrass was at 2:44. Thank you. And back to you, General Evaluator.
Okay, next I'm gonna call on our grammarian, Mr. Michael Leo.
Today, there was one use of the word of the day, acquaint, by our president, table topics master Peter. Next, Toastmaster Anna, Mr. Pendergrass, and Xavier all had no filler words during their speaking roles. Everyone else had a couple uhs and ums during their speaking, but otherwise nothing that affected the meaning or the tone of their speech, which is a very good thing. Therefore, today was a very good day for grammar. Thank you.
Yeah, next I will do our journal evaluation. So I thought that this meeting was very, very productive. We were able to get further acquainted with everybody in here. And we were also pretty timely. Although our two main speeches went a little bit over, our shorter table topic session kind of made up for that. I would like to thank Mr. Shi for that. And thank you.
So like Emily said, the meeting went well. We caught up. So what are roles, or are there like any announcements?
I sent out the sheet for everyone to sign up roles that they would like. So anyone who wants to fill a role can put on that sheet.